So after earning over £24,000 in a single month on Etsy, it's very clear that Etsy has some incredible benefits. However, Etsy does also have some very serious negatives. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my brutally honest opinion of Etsy in 2024 to help decide if it's a platform that's actually going to be right for you. So I'm Alfie and I want to get straight into this video. So let's start by seeing how saturated Etsy actually is in 2024. So I'm going to show you a graphic here of the active Etsy sellers that are actually using the platform in 2024. And as you can see here, pretty much since 2020, there's just been this huge boom in the amount of people that's actually been opening up and starting new Etsy shops. And so as you can see, this accumulates to around 6.3 million Etsy sellers when it was recorded in Q2 of 2023 last year. And now a lot of people would look at these stats and say, yeah, that is a lot of sellers on the platform and it is very oversaturated. However, when you actually compare these stats to the amount of active shoppers on the platform, then I think you can see in this graphic that it actually follows pretty much the exact same pattern as the amount of active sellers. So in terms of ratios, the shoppers to sellers, they're pretty much still the same. And I'm gonna break this down for you now. So at the end of 2023, there was 97.3 million active shoppers on Etsy, okay? So if you then divide this by the ratio of active sellers, you're gonna end up with a ratio of 15.44 shoppers for every one seller on the platform, okay? And now if I do the exact same equation for 2020, so just before Etsy started really booming, you can see that there was 47.7 million shoppers divided by 2.65 million sellers at the time. And this actually equates to 18 shoppers roundabout for every one seller, okay? So actually in reality, yes, you could say Etsy now is slightly more oversaturated, but honestly, not by a lot. Like there's really not that much in it. And I think just speaking from my own actual experience in reality of actually using the Etsy platform kind of through this massive booming growth period, I haven't seen a major effect on my sales or my competition at all. And I do still honestly think that there's so many niches that you can still tap into that are very low competition and still incredibly high search results. So yeah, in a nutshell, I think Etsy, yes, it is more saturated than what it used to be. However, I don't think it's become that much more saturated. And I still think if you put the time and effort in, you can definitely still tap into niches where there's big profits to be made. And now, of course, the next thing to consider when you're thinking about is Etsy actually going to be right for you is of course going to be the costs associated, not just with starting out on Etsy, but of course the through life management of your business. So I first want to start breaking down all of the Etsy fees because these are going to be non-negotiable for you. You're going to have to pay them no matter what you do. And so there's three major fee types that you're always going to have to pay on Etsy. So you've got your listing fees. So this is essentially to list an item for sale on Etsy, and this is going to cost you 20 cents. And now every 4 months, your listing needs to be renewed. So this is then going to cost you another 20 cents every 4 months, okay? And on top of that, every time you sell the listing, this is also going to cost you another 20 cents again to then renew the listing. And then on top of that, when you sell an item, you're going to be charged what's known as a transaction fee on Etsy, okay? And for this, the rate they charge is 6.5%. Okay, so this is 6.5% of the order total. So not just your product, but also the packaging and any other extras that the customers bought as well. And then on top of that, you've also got an Etsy processing fee. So when an item is sold, not only do you have the previous fees I've just mentioned, but you also have an additional 3% fee of the order total for Etsy's order processing, plus an additional 25 cents. So what does this all work out to in total or together? Well, essentially it's going to break down to being around 45 cents as standard for every item that you sell for every order, plus an additional 9.5% of the total order value. So for example, if you sell an item for $10, including all of the shipping, like all in, then you're gonna end up having to pay around $1.40 in total in just fees to Etsy to be able to sell that listing, or around 14% total, okay? So that's something that's really important to work into your profit margins. And I mean, a lot of people would say, yeah, okay, a 14% fee, that's pretty aggressive, that's quite a lot. But in my personal opinion, I do actually think it's justified because, as you know, Etsy is a platform that brings shoppers to you. So rather than you having to spend any money on kind of like Facebook ads or anything like this, there's shoppers there on the platform looking specifically 4 items to buy, which I think is an audience that you'd never be able to sell to anyway if you weren't on Etsy. Or if you did, it would cost you a lot of money to find that audience. But anyway, now I want to take a look at some major hurdles that you'll have to cross, and essentially what boils down to actually how do you become a successful seller on Etsy. So of course, the obvious hurdle is always going to be finding a product that people actually want to buy. But not just finding that product, also finding a product that has low enough competition that you can also actually even compete in. And now I have done a few videos on my channel talking through loads of product ideas or even like good niche shop ideas that do still have quite low competition compared to high search ratios. But if you're looking for a more kind of like personal help with this to help set up a really successful, sustainable long-term Etsy business, or perhaps you've already got an Etsy business set up and you just want some help to take it to that next level, then if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that something I love to do is work directly with you, and whether that be in coaching or just a direct phone call or even one-to-one Etsy shop reviews, okay? So looking over everything in your Etsy shop on how you can improve from your appearance to the shop's listings, it even took down to your SEO details and helping you rank higher, okay? This is all things that are super important, and just from a personal side, I really do think that Etsy is a simple game once you know what you're doing, okay? And I think I've already been there, I've made all the mistakes, and after earning over $200,000 and upwards of 5,800 sales in just over 2 years on Etsy, I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp of what does work now. So yeah, I just wanted to put it out there. If you want me to take a look at your shop or you want to work directly with me to help a successful Etsy business for yourself, then yeah, I'd be more than happy to. So feel free to just fire me a message on Instagram or email, get in contact, and honestly, I love working with you guys. But yeah, once you have a successful business set up and you have finally jumped the hurdle of finding a good product to sell with low competition and high searches, of course, now I think we should start talking about the actual time involvement that you're gonna have to put in to running a successful Etsy business. So look, if you start your business in a model such as print on demand or digital items, which to be honest, if you're looking to make relatively passive income online, you're probably looking at these two business models, then the chances are you're going to need to make a lot of listings on Etsy, and you're also going to have to put a lot of time into testing these listings out, continuously making new listings, removing the ones that don't sell, so removing the ones that don't work, and then making more listings on a very frequent basis to keep your store updated and just to keep testing to find what listings actually sell. So I really do just want to put it out there from personal experience as well. Etsy is not actually as passive of an income business as what I think a lot of people make out. You do still need to put a lot of time into it, not just setting up, but also continuous management and improvement. But on that hand, I do promise you, if you put the time in and you are serious, then you will be heavily rewarded, because I do genuinely think that Etsy is a great platform. Once you know what works, I said, once you test and you know what works, you just apply that same formula, repeat it, and seriously, the money you can make is exceptional. So with that, do I think Etsy is worth it in 2024? Well, the answer is of course yes. Etsy has allowed me to make money personally, which I didn't even think would ever be possible working for someone else or even working a normal day job, let alone to be able to earn that money from my own laptop, working for myself, working my own hours from pretty much anywhere I want in the world. And not only do I think it can be an incredibly simple and straightforward business model to set up, so banner, logo, to even make your listings is not that difficult with the amount of information out there on YouTube now. I also think it's just in general a really user-friendly platform that I think if you put the time into learning, you can pick it up quite quickly. And honestly, I just want to show you some real quick stats here, because I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this purely for motivation to you guys. Etsy allowed me to go from 0 to 24,000 a month within the space of just 6 months of opening up my Etsy shop. So honestly, if you're thinking of starting an Etsy shop in 2024, or maybe you even already have an Etsy shop but you're not quite getting the sales you want and you're thinking of giving up, or you don't really know what direction to go in, I promise you, put the time in. I think Etsy is an exceptional business platform, and I would absolutely say it's definitely worth it. And look, even if you're not creative and you don't even know where to begin with setting up your shop and your listings, with the breakthrough of AI, especially now, the quality of it in 2024, you can literally have a whole shop set up for you, including the listings, just made by artificial intelligence, okay? And if this is something that you want to check out personally, how it's done, then I suggest to watch this video here. But you know what? Thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.